Have you ever imagined that helping your enemy could change your life forever? Asterisk, a poor rancher lived alone on dry land, where water was more valuable than gold. Not far away lived men who hated him for years. They insulted him, destroyed his fences, and tried to ruin his life. One hot day, those same men came to his ranch, tired, thirsty, and close to death. They had no water left, and their horses were collapsing. Asterisk, the rancher looked at them, and remembered all the pain they had given him. He knew the water in his well was barely enough for his own survival. If he shared it, he might lose his crops and everything he owned. For a long moment, he stood silent. Then he picked up a bucket, filled it with water, and handed it to them. Asterisk, the men were shocked. They asked why he helped them after everything they had done. The rancher simply said, "I do not want hate to decide the kind of man I am." Asterisk. Days later, a terrible storm destroyed the rancher's home crops, and well, he lost almost everything. While he was sitting in the ruins of his ranch, the same men returned with wood, food, animals, and tools. They rebuilt his ranch and saved his life. Asterisk, that day, the rancher proved one powerful truth: kindness can change enemies into family, and one good deed can change history. Have you ever helped someone who hated you and wished you nothing but failure? What if a single act of kindness could change not only a life, but the future of an entire community if you believe small? Kindness can change the world. Then subscribe and stay with us for this unforgettable story. Asterisk. The sun was burning the dry land, and the wind carried dust across the empty ranch. Daniel was a poor rancher who lived alone on a small piece of land that barely gave him enough crops to survive. His clothes were old, his boots were worn, and his well was the only source of water for miles. Every drop of water was precious to him, because without it, he would lose everything. Asterisk. Not far from his ranch lived a group of men who hated Daniel. Years ago, there had been a land dispute, and since then, they blamed Daniel for their losses. They spread rumors about him, refused to trade with him, and sometimes even destroyed his fences at night. Daniel knew they were his enemies, but he never fought back. He believed that hatred only created more hatred. Asterisk. One afternoon, Daniel was pulling water from the well when he saw something in the distance. A group of riders was coming toward his ranch. As they got closer, he recognized them immediately. They were the same men who had made his life miserable for years. Daniel felt his heart beat faster. He knew they did not come as friends. Asterisk. The riders stopped in front of him. Their faces were tired, their lips were dry, and their horses looked weak. The man leading them stepped forward and spoke in a tired voice. "We ran out of water 2 days ago. Our horses are dying. We need water." Asterisk. Daniel looked at them silently. He remembered the nights they broke his fence, the times they insulted him, and the day they tried to take his land. He looked at the bucket of water in his hands. It was not just water, it was survival. If he gave them water, his well level would drop, and he might not have enough for his crops. Asterisk. For a long moment, nobody spoke. The wind blew dust across the ground, and the horses made weak sounds. Daniel then did something nobody expected. He lifted the bucket and walked toward them. He gave the first bucket to the man in front of him. Then he pulled more water and filled another bucket and another. He gave water to the men and then to their horses. Asterisk. The men were shocked. They could not even look into his eyes. They knew how badly they had treated him, and yet he was saving their lives. One of the younger men asked him, "Why are you helping us after everything we did to you?" Asterisk. Daniel wiped sweat from his face and replied in a calm voice, "Because if I let you die today, I will become the same kind of man you think I am. I do not want to live with hate in my heart." Asterisk. The men stayed silent. They drank water slowly and filled their containers. Before leaving, the leader of the group turned back and said, "One day we will repay this kindness." I promise you. Days passed, and Daniel almost forgot about the incident. But one night, a huge storm came. Heavy rain and strong wind destroyed part of his ranch and broke the walls around his well. By morning, his crops were ruined, and his animals had run away. Daniel sat near the broken well with his head down. Years of hard work were destroyed in one night, and he had no money to rebuild anything. Round noon, he heard the sound of horses again. Daniel looked up and saw the same group of men riding toward his ranch. But this time, they were not empty-handed. Behind them were wagons full of wood, tools, food, and animals. The leader got off his horse and walked toward Daniel. He looked at the destroyed ranch and then at Daniel. He said, "You saved our lives that day. Today, we are here to save yours." The men spent the entire day fixing the well, rebuilding the fence, and repairing his house. They brought him seeds, animals, and food that would last for months. Daniel could not believe what he was seeing. The same people who once hated him were now helping him like brothers. Before leaving, the leader shook his hand and said, "Your kindness changed us. We were wrong about you." One bucket of water ended years of hatred. Daniel watched them leave as the sun was setting behind the hills. He realized something very important that day. Kindness is more powerful than revenge, and sometimes helping your enemy creates a friend for life. And that is how a poor rancher with nothing but a well and a kind heart changed the future of everyone around him, not with money, not with power, but with a simple bucket of water.